Imagine being betrayed by the person you trust the most. It could be a careless but cutting remark, a secret you stumbled upon, or an act of treachery that left you utterly humiliated. In that instant, your heart feels as if it's been seized by an icy hand. Blood rushes to your head, and the entire world simplifies into a stark, black and white conflict. You feel like the purest victim in the universe, while the other person, they are the villain, the scoundrel, the irrational lunatic. In the courtroom of your mind, the trial is already over, because you clearly remember the truth of what happened. You are the innocent, the righteous, the noble one, and they? Their crime is unforgivable. Or is it an elaborate fiction we weave to protect our fragile ego, or even to attack others? Is it possible that all our pain, our anger, our resentment, stems from the knee-jerk reaction we have whenever this image is challenged? We read so many books, listen to so much advice, meet so many people, yet we remain stuck, tormented by the same problems over and over. Why? Are we living on an elaborate stage we built for ourselves? A stage called justice, where anyone who disagrees with us is unconsciously banished to the role of the villain. But what if the only path to true freedom lies in the exact opposite direction? What if true enlightenment begins precisely when you dare to look directly into the ugliest, most selfish, most hypocritical corner of your soul, and then calmly utter the most difficult admission of all, the most perfect lie? You begin to rehearse your defense over and over in your head. Every detail proves your innocence. Every memory deepens their guilt. Your anger is so righteous, your pain so real and searing, that you are 100% certain truth and morality are on your side. But let's pause for a moment. Big or small, from arguing with your partner over who does the dishes to breaking with a dear friend over a difference in ideals, we so easily, so assuredly cast ourselves in the role of the good person. How do we manage, on the ruins of every relationship, to perfectly play the part of the tragic hero, the one whose noble intentions were utterly betrayed? Right here, at the peak of this emotion, in this moment of your absolute, flawless correctness, let me ask you a question. Have you ever considered that inside their mind, which is burning just as hot, they see you in exactly the same way? In your story, you are the light and they are the shadow. But in their world, could it be that they are the long-suffering hero, the child of light, deeply misunderstood by you? And that you are the selfish, cruel, and irrational asshole? That sounds absurd, doesn't it? Insulting, even. But this is the heart of the problem. Why is it that in every conflict, this eternally correct, forever innocent, what is it really? Is it an objective fact? We spend our entire lives defending this good person persona. We long for growth, for wisdom, for so-called enlightenment, because we've taken the wrong path. We think of enlightenment as a process of making ourselves better, purer, more divine. The reason you can't make that admission, the reason the thought feels absurd or even blasphemous, is because you are not fighting against a specific mistake. You are fighting against the very foundation of your self-concept. To admit you are an asshole is, to your internal system, a cataclysmic earthquake. It's your chief public relations officer, your diplomatic spokesperson. Its job is to create an acceptable, even admirable, image of you on the grand stage of society. It is polite, moral, and strives for excellence. Its sole purpose is to win the approval of others and gain a social passport, thereby ensuring your survival. Let's deconstruct this system. He argued that often the goodness, humility, and tolerance we praise are not born from inner strength and genuine compassion, but from a survival strategy rooted in resentment. That eternally correct, forever innocent I in your head is what psychology calls the persona. They say, you are strong and powerful? That's barbaric. I am gentle. That is civilization. Is your kindness a product of authentic strength, Or is it a form of self-soothing, evolved from an inability to fight back or a fear of competition? We firmly believe the script in our hands is the world's absolute truth. But this lie isn't just a monologue in your head. It is silently setting up the dominoes of your entire destiny. Is your disdain for certain successful people truly because of their moral flaws? Or does that disdain make your own mediocrity feel a little more noble? It's not that you wouldn't, it's that you couldn't. So you've beautified cannot into do not care to. You dare to pursue your desires? That's evil. I know restraint. That is nobility. We live inside a story we narrate to ourselves, a story in which we are always the victim, always seeking justice, while defining anyone or anything that doesn't fit the script as the problem or evil. You have wealth and status. That's vulgar. I am content with my humble lot. That is spiritual aristocracy. But what lies beneath the mask? The psychologist Carl Jung gave us an earth-shattering answer. The shadow. The hypocritical colleague, the arrogant friend, the weak-willed relative. Is your intense emotion truly because of how unforgivable they are? Or is it because they act as a distorted mirror, reflecting back the very part of you that's chained up in your dungeon, screaming to get out? When you attack them, you are merely attacking your own shadow by proxy. Your judgment of them is, in essence, a self-trial where the defendant is not allowed to be present. The shadow is everything you have actively repressed, denied, and hidden away to maintain that good person persona. It's a dungeon holding your greed, your jealousy, your cowardice, your selfishness, your cruelty, all the desires and impulses you refuse to acknowledge. You lock it in the basement of your consciousness and pretend it doesn't exist. The more you try to appear righteous in the light, the darker and larger the shadow you cast behind you becomes. And here lies one of humanity's most ironic tragedies. The more you deny your shadow, the more invisible and powerful its control over you becomes. It doesn't disappear. It simply manipulates your life in ways you cannot perceive. This is projection. When you can't stand a certain trait within yourself, you find a scapegoat in the outside world and project your self-loathing onto them with a vengeance. Have you ever noticed that the people who infuriate you the most, who trigger your deepest rage, often fit a specific type? The philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche delivered another fatal blow to this good person image from a different angle. He proposed a concept called slave morality. What does this mean? When the weak are unable to fight back or possess what the strong have, they invent a new moral system to gain a sense of psychological superiority. Now, examine yourself with the most brutal honesty. This defense system, built from the persona, the shadow, and the psychology of resentment, is so seamless that we have all become prisoners of our own lies. We are like master hypnotists who have successfully hypnotized ourselves first. And this lie, this script you so deeply believe in, its most terrifying consequence is not that it makes you live in an illusion. It's that it is steering your life in a way you are completely unaware of into an inescapable closed loop. It acts like a phantom programmer, quietly writing lines of code in the background of your life's operating system, determining your every reaction to the world. First, it installs the most powerful cognitive bias software. The core program is called confirmation bias. The moment you decide you are right and the other person is wrong, your brain automatically activates a filter. When you make a mistake, say, you snap at your partner, how do you explain it? When your "I am a good person" self-image is challenged, for instance, by criticism or blame, your amygdala, the ancient part of the brain responsible for fear and threat, is instantly activated. You find that you always encounter unreasonable bosses, always make disloyal friends, always fall in love with misunderstanding partners. You are like a cursed actor who, despite changing casts and sets, finds himself performing the same tragedy over and over. You think you are living with free will, but your anger, your moral outrage, Your every choice of which side to take may just be a pre-installed program running on autopilot. You lament the unfairness of fate, never once considering that it might be your own built-in "I am the innocent victim" script that is attracting all the perpetrators to co-star in your play. Your shadow, in places you cannot see, is directing the entire course of your life. To your brain, an argument over who is right or wrong is almost identical to encountering a tiger in the jungle. Political polarization, online mobs, identity conflicts. They are all, in essence, countless groups of self-proclaimed good people projecting their shadows onto one another. We label the other side stupid, evil, or not one of us, and then attack with a clear conscience. We are not communicating. We are engaging in one collective, unconscious exorcism after another, all in the name of justice. Each side is convinced it is the army of light, fighting against the darkness. But if everyone is standing in the light, where on earth is all this fire and brimstone coming from? It triggers the same physiological response: fight or flight. Your rational cortex temporarily goes offline. Blood rushes to your limbs, your heart races, and adrenaline surges. In this state, you are incapable of any real reflection, understanding, or empathy. You become an animal, baring its teeth to defend its territory. All your reasoning is just roaring, designed to win the battle. I had a hard day at work, or I'm under too much stress. You attribute the cause to external circumstances. But when your partner snaps at you, what's your first reaction? He's just a selfish person, or she has no consideration for me. You attribute the cause directly to their character. For ourselves, there are always extenuating circumstances. For others, it's always their inherent nature. It becomes a frantic evidence collector, seeking only the information that supports your verdict. While you are judging the world with this program, the world is judging you in the very same way. Any evidence to the contrary is either ignored or twisted into proof of the other's malicious intent. You are not seeking truth. You are just gathering more appendices for your pre-written judgment. There's an even more insidious program called the fundamental attribution error. Do you see this double standard? This tiny mental habit is the root of countless misunderstandings and chasms between people. From the perspective of brain mechanics, this is even more chilling. And so, your life script begins to repeat itself. When this individual pattern is scaled up to the whole of society, it forms the deepest cracks of our time. The horror of this prison is that it's built with the very things you cherish most: your sense of morality, your sense of justice, your very identity as its steel bars. When the prison is your own mind, and the enemy is the very good person identity you would die to protect, how do you rebel? To break a cage forged from justice and morality, you cannot use a hammer. The harder you strike, the stronger the beliefs that form the bars become. It demands that you undertake an internal revolution of honesty, one so courageous it borders on cruel. The only way out is to find the key that unlocks it. Withdraw all the energy you were about to use to judge the other person, and turn it inward for a ruthless investigation of yourself. Stop asking, "Why did they do this to me?" Instead, ask yourself a far more lethal question. If, on some level, I am completely unaware of, I am the asshole here, where exactly would my assholery be found? You just need to present this evidence in the courtroom of your own mind. When you begin to do this, you'll find that the world, once so black and white and righteous, begins to crack. You must reclaim the traits you've projected onto others, one by one. The image of the 100% evil other starts to blur, to become three-dimensional and even. Ask yourself, where does my own hypocrisy hide? Perhaps it's in your failure to speak your truth at a critical moment, your choice to swallow your anger to avoid a confrontation, or your fear of leaving your comfort zone to pursue the life you truly want. Socrates said, "The only thing I know is that I know nothing." It requires you to give up the sweetest poison of all, the identity of the victim. You have just begun to open your eyes. You are no longer a puppet living in a script. You are becoming a real human being, imperfect but authentic, flawed but whole. Being the victim is the safest role, as it absolves you of all responsibility for your own life. But only by walking through this darkest of forests can you ever hope to see the vast open sky on the other side. But only by relinquishing this role can you reclaim the power to create your life. This wasn't false modesty. It was the most radical honesty. He abandoned the persona of the wise man, and only then did he open the door to true wisdom. The Buddha, sitting under the Bodhi tree, didn't penetrate the mysteries of the cosmos. He penetrated the illusion of self. He saw how desire, aversion, and ignorance operated within him. By acknowledging them, he transcended them. Perhaps it's in the polite pleasantries you say to avoid conflict, the ingratiating behavior you exhibit to gain an advantage, or the gap between what you think and what you say. When you admit that you too possess the same trait, a miracle happens. Your intense emotional charge toward that person deflates like a punctured balloon. You no longer need to attack them to deny a part of yourself. You have used them as a mirror, and through them, you have seen a more complete version of yourself. This is a profound form of compassion first for yourself, which then naturally flows outward to others. The form may be different, the degree may vary, but the virus of hypocrisy is latent in your system too. To have a motive that is perhaps understandable, and the 100% innocent you begins to reveal the inevitable mottled texture of humanity. And that key is the very thing you are most reluctant, most terrified to touch. This subversive method can be called the discipline of embracing the bastard within. It does not ask you to actually do harm. Step 1. Stop playing the judge. Start playing the detective. The next time you are in a conflict, the next time you feel that familiar rage of "I am right," force yourself to stop. Take a deep breath. This is an extremely difficult mental gymnastic, as it violates every self-preservation instinct you have. But you must proceed like a cold, impartial detective, searching for incriminating evidence on yourself. Ask, in this situation, was there even 1% of selfishness in my motive? Did I distort the facts, even slightly, to protect my own ego? Did I shift the blame to them because of my own fear or insecurity? Is my anger really about their actions, or is it because they poked one of my sore spots, a hidden inferiority or a feeling of lack? Did I, for a moment, enjoy the feeling of moral superiority over them? You don't need to confess these answers to anyone. Step 2. Practice shadow integration by taking back your projections. Jung believed that enlightenment is not about becoming a perfect being of light, but about integrating the totality of who you are, especially the parts you despise. The next time you feel an intense disgust for someone's hypocrisy, immediately turn off the outward-facing camera and point it inward. When you scoff at someone's cowardice, ask yourself, where does my cowardice manifest? The point of this exercise is not self-flagellation, but acknowledgement and seeing. The people in history who truly got it were all practitioners of this path. This is a rebellion, not by shouting at the world, but by subverting the tyranny within. When you dare to admit, yes, in that situation, I was the asshole, you have not fallen from grace. This process is painful, like performing soul surgery on yourself without anesthesia. As you continue this internal archaeology, as you bravely embrace the asshole within, you will discover a truth that lies far beyond better relationships or emotional regulation. It is a truth so profound it can shatter your entire understanding of life, the universe, and the self. They are two faces of the same coin, and the name of that coin is ego. It's a hungry ghost that constantly needs external things to validate its existence. When it plays the good person, it needs approval, praise, and moral superiority. When it's forced to admit it's an asshole, it plunges into self-blame, shame, and self-hatred, which is just another form of intense, self-centered drama. You will realize that the good person you once died to defend and the asshole you now strive to admit to are not two different people, nor are they even two sides of the same person. The ego is that incessant voice in your head, the one that is always judging, evaluating, comparing, and demanding. Whether you believe you are a saint or a sinner, a victim or a perpetrator, you have fallen into the exact same trap. You are obsessively focused on me. You see another expression of the ocean. This is its first step in piercing the illusion of being a perfect wave. And this step will ultimately lead it to the realization that its true nature was never the wave, but the entire ocean, which contains all clarity and murkiness, all good and evil, all life and death. Their actions and your own inner asshole arise from the same universal forces: human ignorance, fear, and lack. Your anger at them is like the ocean's left hand being angry at its right hand. Is that not absurd? Because at the level of the ocean, there is no absolute right or wrong, only the coming together and flowing apart of causes and conditions. You must dive into your own deepest darkness to discover that at the end of it, you are the light itself. Every conflict becomes a spectacular opportunity to observe the grand play of human nature. They are no longer your enemies. They are your teachers in disguise, your secret allies on the path to enlightenment. It was they who, in the most violent way, forced you to shatter the illusion of the good person, forced you to confront your own shadow, and ultimately forced you to ask the final question: who am I, really? This love is not based on "you are good to me, so I love you." It is a compassion born from the recognition that all things share the same source. You look at the person who once hurt you and see a lost child, flailing in the dark, who accidentally struck you. You might still choose to move away, but deep within you, the bone-deep resentment is gone. It may have left you feeling unsettled, perhaps even offended, because we were touching the very fortress of self that we spend a lifetime building. In its place is a profound peace, mixed with pity and understanding, but are powerful enough to shake the very foundations of our lives. You morph from an enraged actor into a fascinated spectator, and eventually into a compassionate director. If you are tired of the useless platitudes and cheap comforts, and you crave to face the questions that truly matter: my feelings, my image, my rightness or wrongness, it is a signal you send to yourself. You no longer fear loss, because as the ocean, you can lose nothing. Waves disappear, but the ocean remains. You've simply moved from the carousel to the roller coaster in the amusement park of the ego. The ride has changed, but you have never left the park. Do you see it? True enlightenment, true freedom is not about turning this asshole self into a better self. It is about seeing through the illusory nature of the self altogether. Imagine you are not a wave. You are the entire ocean. When you believe you are a single separate wave, you become obsessed with your shape and size. You compare yourself to the other waves, and you live in terror of crashing against the rocks and being annihilated. This is the state of the ego. Your joy comes from being higher than other waves. Your suffering comes from the fear of your impending dissolution. Enlightenment is the moment a wave suddenly realizes, I am not a wave, I am the ocean. All waves, high and low, surging and breaking, are all part of me. The reef that I crash upon is also part of me. This whole game ... is just me playing with myself. When you adopt this oceanic perspective, and you look back at that wave that once angered you, you no longer see an evil external entity. Admitting you're an asshole is the first time the wave dares to admit, I am not always perfect and crystalline. I can also be murky and carry silt. From this vantage point, your life will transform fundamentally. You no longer fixate on right and wrong. You gain true power. This power isn't about controlling others. It stems from the fact that you no longer need validation from anyone or anything to prove your existence. You begin to experience a deep, unconditional love. So, true enlightenment begins with admitting you're an asshole. The ultimate meaning of this statement is, only by admitting to the ugliest parts of your small self do you create the opening to glimpse the great self that exists beyond all concepts of good and bad. Now, look back. Look at the most painful resentments of your life, the knots you could never untie, the people you have defined as assholes. This journey begins with admitting you're an asshole, and it ends with discovering you are the entire universe. Are you ready to start walking this path? Outro. Call to action. I know the journey just now was not an easy one. And this channel exists for precisely these questions, the ones that can't be answered in a soundbite. If you feel that this kind of exploration, however painful, has a truth to it that makes your soul tremble, then I invite you to join us. If you are willing to treat this space as a sanctuary for dialogue with your own soul, a base camp for our collective exploration of the human maze, then subscribing is no longer just a click. I am ready. I will continue to go deeper, no matter how difficult it gets. Together, we will continue to dismantle the illusions we live by, whether they are about success, love, or the meaning of life itself. I am your fellow traveler on this path. I'll see you on the road.